This week on the Erotic Awakening Podcast, episode 763, Primal Play with Sunny Leigh Mayne, Karezza, and Million Podcast. Welcome to Erotic Awakening, an exploration of all things erotic. If you are offended by adult topics or prohibited by law, I recommend you stop listening right now. First, a heartfelt thanks to the amazing patrons of Erotic Awakening, each and every one of you. Your support literally keeps this podcast, the longest running kink podcast, on the air. This week, a special welcome to our newest supporters, Sarah and JoJo. I'm so glad you're here, and thanks for your support. If you are not already a supporting patron of the show, I invite you to join the current supporters so it can continue. Just visit patreon.com/eroticawakening to sign up. And feel free to contact me at dawn@eroticawakening.com if you'd like to learn other ways to support the show and the work I do. Hi, everyone. I'm Dawn, and I'm here this week to continue the conversations on power exchange, polyamory, sacred sexuality, and simply fun kink. This week, I reached out to Sunny Leigh Mayne from the Naughty Talk podcast and got her to talk a bit about primal play and what it means to her. I got to meet Sunny at Primal Arts Fest, also called PATH, and I took her class, and it was pretty awesome. It was pretty hot, actually. And since I've been on her show before, I figured I would also have her on my show. So let's sit back and hear what Sunny has to say. This evening, I am sitting here with Sunny Leigh Mayne from the Naughty Talk podcast, and we finally got to meet in person at the Primal Arts Fest, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. It was nice to see you in person, and you've been on my podcast a couple times. It was time to return the favor.
Absolutely. I wanted to bring you on here, Sunny, because I have a lot of people ask me what the hell is primal energy, and I get stuck in the feeling words. Like, well, it makes me feel whatever. And sometimes people need a little more than that. So I thought I would bring someone on here that maybe does primal energy different than I do, or the same, or who knows, and get your thoughts on it. So, primal energy, what is it to you?
So, primal energy to me is really about releasing our minds from human taboo and inhibition, obviously within the confines of consent when we're involving other humans, but just sort of releasing our minds from the expectations to behave a certain way, letting our sort of inner beast out to play.
The inner beast, that was my favorite part. And during your class, I actually kind of snuck away when everybody was getting ready to pair up. I joke about that in my introvert class. I'm like, oh, pairing up. Nope, I'm out. But it was more because you were teaching like how to tackle, how to take down safely. So do you do that sort of play in your play?
I do. I do a lot of grappling. I do a lot of takedown type play. I never say safe. I say risk mitigated because it
Mm-hmm.
is a dangerous activity, right? When you drive somebody into the ground, you're running around, you're grappling, it's chaotic movement. Accidents can happen. I've certainly had my fair share of things go wrong, but yes, it is one of my most favorite ways to play.
So do you do the taking down or do you get taken down or both?
Both.
Ooh.
I identify as a primal predator, and so I'm never really in a prey headspace. And I most often play with other predators, so it's often sort of like a two-directional hunt with some grappling involved, that sort of thing.
So you're kind of small.
I'm a peanut. I am.
And the person that you were doing the class with is kind of not. And
Yes.
do you take him down?
So to take ox down, I would really focus on one, I would need to have a little bit of element of surprise, and two, the idea is to let the other person's momentum take them down. So I'm basically tripping him up and allowing his own force and motion to take him down because the reality is, we have quite a size disparity. So if I just walk up to Ox and try to knock him over, I can pull in some martial arts moves that have come from the internet, not from martial arts training that I've incorporated into play, and I can try to knock him off balance, or we can grapple. But yes, the size disparity does come into play.
Oh my gosh. So you're a predator that plays with other predators, which I hadn't thought of. How much fun.
I'm
So
also a dominant that likes to top almost exclusively other tops in a lifestyle context. So I guess it's it's one of my kinks.
fascinating. Oh my God, I love that. I feel like I have so many questions. How did you find primal play? How long have you been doing it? And what do you get out of it?
So I have been doing primal play long before I had a word for it, long before I even really entered into the kink community, even during some of my earliest spicy experiences. Before any sense of kink or community, I wanted to grapple. I wanted to have hunting and chasing and be caught. And, I remember myself at a very young age telling my partner, like, I want you to chase me and catch me, and then we can do the thing. And they're looking at me like, I've lost my mind, right? This is
Hmm.
vanilla land. We're both pretty young. We're both pretty new to doing the thing. Like, yeah, you got to wrestle me for it. And then sort of entering the kink world in more of a traditional DS context and just sort of speaking with other folks and getting to know other folks in the community, I started to understand that there were words for these things like primal play and that people did grappling with consent for kink and other things. And then I had some language to describe what I had been doing for a very long time.
Isn't that kind of fun that you like find a thing and then you find the labels and the words for it? Because then it's like validation. This is
Yeah.
a real thing.
Yes, most of my life it's been like one of these things is not like the others in a lot of ways. So finding the kink community was definitely a really important milestone in my growth as a human.
So when I was at Primal Arts, it kind of felt like this was a different event than a lot of kink events.
Yep.
It felt like not everybody was necessarily into like impact play. I mean, there were some people, but not everybody was into like impact play and some of the other stuff that you see in the dungeon. And the first night in the dungeon, not a lot of that type of stuff going on. It felt like there was room for spiritual energy and ritual and letting out all of that kind of stuff. Do you have words to give to that?
Yes, and I
Oh,
noticed the
good.
same thing. I think what was really special about Primal Arts was that it is an entire event sort of dedicated to the intersection between primal play and kink and spirituality. And at a lot of sort of kink heavy events where kink is front and center and the star of the show, you'll have sort of smaller events within the event where you can engage with primal play, or maybe there will be, like, I often bring to regular, I'm a kink educator, I often bring my intimate energy exchange classes and some of my primal classes to regular DS kink events in the mix with the other subjects that I teach on that are sort of more traditional BDSM. But this event really put that sort of front and center. There was a hunt, which was amazing, a fully
Yes.
organized hunt. I had a lot of sort of ritual dancing where I got to interact with the drummers, around the fire. And I only did one dungeon scene the entire time I was at PAF. And it was so sort of refreshing because you get a little bit jaded, right? And I was like, I
Hmm.
really want to sink into all these other things that this event has to offer.
Yeah, it is different. I'm kind of curious how it's going to be different with like Twisted Tryst that I'm getting ready to do this weekend, which is another outdoor event. So I'm kind of curious energy wise, is there going to be the drumming and the dancing and the fires and all of that like there was at Primal Arts? Kind of interested, see what's going to happen. I think I'm coming back to Primal Arts. I liked that energy, and people liked my class, right? It was all about energy. I could talk woo, not have to apologize for it, not explain that I was talking woo. I could mention things like, okay, for some of us, this is an otherkin experience. And people knew what the hell I was talking about, most of
Hmm.
them, you know,
Yeah.
where you truly believe that part of you is a beast and an animal. Yeah, I got to talk about that and explain it. And yes, those are my people.
Yes, I walk a pagan spiritual path, and sacred sexuality and kink have a very heavy overlap for me. Primal is really a way of life. It's a style of play, and certainly people can engage with it just at the level of play, but it's something that's so much bigger for me. And having a setting where I think I called my episode on in Path the Woo and You, and I was like, I get to bring my witchy and my woo, and everybody here just already kind of gets it.
Hmm.
And I'm not offering these classes that are really considered, even within the kink community, sometimes to be very, very niche or just a little bit too out there because they involve spirituality. I felt right at home at Path.
Yes, yes, I need it to involve my spirituality. That is just a big part of me at this point. So, primal energy, playing, the hunt, takedowns, all the yummy stuff.
Midnight
So,
snack.
midnight snacks. You know what? I was so damn tired being out in nature that I missed the midnight snacks.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had
Well,
like a whole kitchen set up, and it was not just cookies or something. Like they had hash browns and they had nachos and they
oh.
had all the stuff. And so after a day of heavy activity, I was ready for some warm carbs.
So I do plan on coming back and I will have to try out the midnight snacks. There were a few things I didn't try yet. I was just in my little tent in a corner. So spending some time with myself, but able to spend time with people when I wanted to.
Yes, the threshold to participate, often when I do events, if you want to sort of participate fully as a presenter, you're doing like four different workshops or four different things, and that's been pretty standard across the board, but the commitment at PAF was only two. And so I was actually able to participate in the hunt. I got to participate in the rituals and the dancing. I got to pop by the elemental spa and have a massage. And I also participated in the spa and provided some tarot readings. So that was really cool. Yeah, I got to go to some of the social events and just be a human at this event while also being a presenter. And that's something that doesn't happen often.
That's very true. Usually it's work, work, work at these things. The spa. Yeah, I'm going to have to talk to Sam. I'm going to have Sam on the show as well to talk about primal arts. And you said that you offered tarot. I can offer Reiki. I can be so
Yeah.
involved next year. That's going to be fun.
Yeah. On fire, there were a lot of fire spinning activities, which is something that
Hmm.
is new to me and is very primal to me. Not just sort of dancing around the bonfire in a ritual capacity, but I actually had an opportunity to do a couple of spin jams and spin fire to some music with my friends, and that was amazing.
Oh, fun. So then you got to incorporate your dance and everything in that. I could tell in your class when you were demoing being taken down and stuff, I could tell you were a dancer. You had your toe pointed and you had the moves.
Like, I better point my toes while I punch you in the face. Um,
Exactly.
Consensually. But yes, I mean, dance is something that has been so important to me for my entire life, and I came from a ballet background. Now I also teach primal movement and primal dance classes and a lot of spicy dance classes like lap dances for lay people. But I'm hoping that an event will take soon my newer sort of primal movement class. And not everybody wants to grapple, but I think just being connected to your body and to your heartbeat and to the drums, it's a great way to sort of release yourself from that headspace and sort of enter into that human headspace and enter into the primal sort of free from taboo headspace by connecting that way.
So I've got a question for you that I did not warn you about, but it just popped into my head. Primal play. I actually talked about this on the show a few ago, thinking that I didn't fit in because I was older. I don't grapple. I do worry about breaking something and it taking longer to heal
Mhm.
because I'm older. And then I met up with a group of older women and we all sat together and I knew I fit in. But for you, let's make it personal. For you, as you get older and you can't grapple anymore and you can't do takedowns, how do you plan on still having this as a part of your life?
Yeah. 2 St. Patrick's Day weekends ago, I destroyed my knee skiing.
Ooh.
Completely. No, I have no ACL in my right knee. There was a little bit of physical therapy. I couldn't walk. And now I'm dancing and grappling again, but boy, was it a wake-up call. It just was. And nobody's getting any younger, as far as I know. If you are, tell me the secret. But I talk a lot about accessibility when I teach my classes, and the one that you sat in on was an advanced class specifically on takedowns and grappling. But in my Primal 101, I talk a lot about how a lot of primal play can end in touch instead of tackle. You don't have to bite down hard on somebody to put your teeth on somebody else's skin. And it's really about this disinhibited energy. So it doesn't always have to be about sort of sparring, and it doesn't always have to be about CNC play. I have had group play scenes where it was just a tangle of bodies and everybody was sort of lightly clawing and hair pulling and pushing each other around a little bit low to the ground. And it was, I won't say it wasn't aggressive. There was like a little bit of an aggressive feel to it at times, right? But it was very sensual, and primal play can be sensual. It doesn't have to be so much about grappling. It's just about, if I want to lick somebody's face, I'm going to do it, right? If I want to release inhuman noises while I'm having my play, I'm going to do that. And I'm not going to stop to think, what is this going to sound like? And what would people think about me in polite society? And I think that's really the spirit of primal play. It can be for everyone, and it does not have to be as rough as it sometimes seems on the surface.
Right. Or like the hunt where they're like firemen carrying people and dragging them and
Yeah, that's why there are belts, right? So the hunt at path and many hunts that are done in a group setting are done with sort of flag football belts, and you can choose your adventure. You can just be at the place of tag and not full contact or tackle. And most of the tackling was done on an individual negotiation basis. Like I made special wristbands for folks who agreed to be tackled by myself or Ox because I didn't want to run into face blindness. And, I made the same negotiation identical with everybody so that I wasn't trying to keep 10 negotiations in my head while running around in this chaotic. And I talked about that in my class. I'm like, I bet you're all here because you're coming to the hunt. Who's thought about this strategy, right? Like, how are you going to keep track of all of your individual negotiations? And this person has a shoulder injury. And what's your strategy? What's your plan going into it? There's a big hill out there. Are we tackling people down the hill or are we only tackling people up the hill? So there are a lot of practical considerations, but I've seen people can do a hunt with water guns or projectiles. Somebody was out there with like a play bow and arrow,
I
you
saw
know.
that.
Yeah, I have consulted on designing hunts in the past for events like this, and sometimes you can do a hide and seek type hunt where the prey can run and hide and the predators have to seek them out. So it's not so much of like an open field, everybody's running at full force situation. You can hunt completely in the mind using hypnosis, and I do a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
that. It is accessible.
I like that. And I just had an aha moment because I saw the person with the Nerf sort of bow and arrow.
Yes.
And it reminded me of when I used to LARP. I'm like, ooh, I used to have a boffer crossbow with birdseed packet arrows because you throw those and you things like that. I've been part of a hunt before. They were goblins,
Yep.
but and I was a dwarf,
Yep.
but
Sounds primal to me. I think that, you asked me about like what is primal play not or how is it different? And I think that some people think about primal play and they think of like pet, sort of like puppy pony play, like where
Mhm.
you're role playing a specific animal. And some people do that. Or they think about sort of like furry stuff and fursonas. And those are really their own, I think, kind of whole world. of kink, right? But primal play, some people identify, with the characteristics of a specific kind of animal, like I feel like a doe or a bunny or a bear. And other people identify as a dragon or a goblin or a gremlin or some mythological creature that doesn't exist in our world. And some people just acknowledge that they're like me. I like to acknowledge that there is a beast in all of us, and some of us are just willing to let that beast come to the surface and out to play.
And how much fun to play with. Okay, one more question for you. Misconceptions. Can you think of any misconceptions when it comes to primal play? I mean, we kind of talked a little bit like if you're old, you can't do this or something like that. But can you think of any other misconceptions?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a misconception that if you're small, that you can't be a predator. And I will have everyone know that I am pint-sized, but I am a vicious predator. And I'd like to think by the end of the hunt, I got enough kills for people to notice. But you can, with strategy, you can still be a skillful hunter and be small. Um, you do not have to be an athlete to engage in primal play or willing to do some of, the toughest types of grappling or takedowns. Lots of things, again, that can end in tackle could also end in touch. It can be sensual. It does not have to be aggressive. And it does not have to be necessarily kinky play. You can experience primal energy by being disinhibited in other ways when you're drumming, when you're dancing, when you're doing intimate energy exchange, when you are connecting with nature. This is why I often say that primal is a lifestyle for me. I spend all of my free time in nature doing natural activities. I walk a pagan path that's based in sort of animism and the idea of, interconnected energy in all living things. And you can engage at that level, or you can just engage for the space of a single scene where we do a little wrestling. But I really think that the biggest misconception is that it's very niche or fringe. And I'm like, you know what? If you are into CNC play, if you're into power exchange, if you're into sort of any kind of rough body play, if you are into stalking, if you're into exhibitionism or voyeurism, all of that,
Mm.
can overlap and you can find something. Sharps. I have like primal knife. I have claws that are knives that I do not bring into grappling. Or not into chaotic play. Those are for controlled scenes. But, I think that it's really just about achieving this disinhibited headspace, and then your imagination is the only limit.
Love it. And I love that word. I wrote it down, disinhibited. That's
Yes.
what I like about it. You get to let the inner beast come out and play. So awesome. Okay, so you have a podcast, Naughty Talk. Tell me a little bit about that before we wrap up.
Yes, so you can find it if you search for Naughty Talk with Sunny Leigh Mayne. It is available on most popular podcast platforms. I sound like a commercial.
Mm-hmm. It's okay.
Um, I've got on sunnyleemain.com, I've got the RSS feed up on my website if you'd like to add it to an app that doesn't already have it running. But we're not too difficult to find. We are an inclusive kink and sexuality education podcast. So we are queer inclusive, we are ability inclusive, really trying to represent on the podcast the incredible variety of humans that exist within the kink community and spread some education. It is free to listen to right now. You don't have to subscribe to anything. You can check us out. And we've had a little bit of a break recently, but I have started airing season 5, and seasons 1 through 5, at least the episodes that have already aired in season 5, are currently available for folks to check out.
Awesome. Well, I plan on checking it out because I'm driving everywhere, so I have time to do that. So thank you, Sunny, for being on the show. It was lovely. And you talk about the spirit and the pagan path, and I'm like, we need to talk some more.
Woo!
I need to have, yes, woo. More woo in my life and to talk about this stuff. So fabulous. Thanks for joining me tonight.
You're very welcome. I had fun.
Awesome. Bye. So I've been doing Primal Play for a while, and I'm finding that going to classes on Primal Play is very illuminating for me, as into how many different styles there are of people playing with primal energy. So we got to learn a little bit about Sunny there and a little bit about primal play and at least how it works for her and a little bit of how it works for me. I ended up taking a primal play class at Twisted Tryst, and every once in a while you can find one at the kink events that we go to. I know for me, I'm going to be attending a few more because I teach primal play in a specific way, I guess. I have a couple of primal play classes that I teach that are about like how to bring out your primal self. And all these other classes, they cover a little bit of that and more. So I'll be taking classes for my self-education for sure. At some of those events where there could be a primal play class, here is where I am going to be. I'll be checking out an event in South Dakota in July, which involves camping. I'll be teaching at Libertine in Indiana on Labor Day weekend. I'll be presenting and camping. Then off to Seek, a submissive retreat in Wisconsin, October 8th through 11. I think I'm facilitating rituals there. And then Satyricon in Madison, November 8th, where I'm vending, and the Kink Holiday Bazaar in Chicago, November 21st, also vending. I've got some intensives coming up as well, so keep an ear out, or you may want to sign up for the Erotic Awakening newsletter. Keep up with all the places I'm presenting or vending, my online classes and intensives, book news, discounts, and more via the Erotic Awakening newsletter. And when you sign up, get your EA shout out like Lickable Teddy. Head over to eroticawakening.com and subscribe to the newsletter today. So I wanted to share with you guys, and I got to share this at my intro to sacred sexuality class that I did at Twisted Tryst last weekend. I got to share that I learned a new word for me. Now, come to find out, this word's been around since the 1890s, so it's not like it's a new word. And when I've mentioned it to a couple of other people that are in the Qadishti path, they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of that word. Well, I haven't, and I'm a little excited about it because after being in these communities, being in these realms for almost 30 years, it's actually kind of exciting to find something new. So what I found was, well, I was looking for different paths than the ones that I usually teach when I'm teaching Intro to Sacred Sexuality. My notes are 20 some years old, so I just wanted to do some research to see if I had missed anything. I had Kadishti, Kadoshka, Taoism, Tantra, those type of things. So was there anything else out there that I might have missed? And lo and behold, I did. And the new word for me is Karezza. It means caress in Italian, and it's kind of about exactly the stuff that I teach when it comes to sacred sexuality, which is sacred touch, being connected, being present, have intention, things like that. So this word was, or this method, this word and this method were put together and designed as a method by Dr. Alice Stockham from the 1890s. She saw that there was a lot of Quaker women, and I'm assuming she was Quaker as well, but there was a lot of Quaker women having a lot of pregnancies. And she wanted to teach them that they could have sexual relations without getting pregnant. So she designed this book and did pictures of anatomy and talked about how you can have sex without having orgasm or ejaculation, how to practice intimate, focused emotional bonding, spiritual union in the marriage, and prolonged closeness rather than achieving climax. Well, she created this all into a book and was promptly arrested because she was mailing obscenities through the mail. So she was arrested for this book. Anyway, a few years later, a dude, I didn't even write down his name. You guys can look that up if you want to. But in 1931, a dude rewrote the book and has made a profit off of it. So, yes, I have things to say about that, and I won't. Instead, I'm just going to say there's a new word that you may hear me start to use, which is Karezza. And I'm liking it. Maybe I'm a Karezza Qadishti, a Qadishti that practices Karezza. I'm not sure. We'll see how that works in my future spiritual sexual path. So awesome. Welcome to my new world of new words. All right. Now, I also mentioned on the title, Million Podcast. I had someone reach out to me to let me know that their website, www.millionpodcast.com, had listed Erotic Awakening in the best 60 kink podcast in the US. I thought that was interesting, and I went to go have a look, and there we are. So, actually, kind of an honor. But we've also been around for 17 years, so I would kind of be surprised if we weren't on it. What actually surprised me the most, though, was that I didn't know there was more than 60 kink podcasts in the US to choose from. So some of these podcasts on here I recognize, and I also realized that these are not in the order of rankings for sure. So who do we have that I recognize? I recognize the Venus Cuckoldress podcast. We have had them on the show before. Pink Kink, absolutely. Oh, Perverted podcast. Holy cow. That's been around forever. It's kind of cool to see podcasts that have been on the Erotic Awakening podcast on this list, and so many that I have not heard of before and may have to go check out. In the meantime, if you have any questions for me or just want to keep track of social media, I can be found at Dawn_Awakening or Erotic_Awakening on Fetlife, Erotic Awakening on Instagram, EA Podcast Dawn on TikTok, or just email me at dawn@eroticawakening.com. Be a part of the Erotic Awakening podcast community. You can become a patron of the show and get early access to the podcast, a free copy of the audiobook Polyamory Toolkit, free ebooks, discounts on monthly Zoom classes, member-only Discord, not safe for work channel, and more. Find all the goodies at patreon.com/Erotic Awakening today. And help others find Erotic Awakening. Give us high ratings wherever you listen to the podcast, and most importantly, tell your friends about the show. Join the conversation with other listeners. Use the links from the Erotic Awakening website for our interactive Discord channel, which is open to all listeners. Until next time, may your journey be filled with passion, joy, and a bit of naughtiness. Bye, everyone.